Hi, everyone, and thank you for being here with me for today's Monday Healing Step session inside the Bridge to Healing community. Now, if this is your first time joining, I'm Janine Naus, a grief and trauma relief specialist, and I help trauma survivors navigate deep emotional wounds, reconnect with themselves, and reclaim peace, one healing step at a time. Now, if you're watching the replay, type pound replay in the comments, and if you're here live, go ahead and type pound live. I'd love to know where you're tuning in from. So today's topic is deeply personal for so many survivors because it's about what we often don't talk about. It's not the chaos of trauma. It's not the tears or the breakdowns. It's the numbness, the blankness, the I'm fine mask when inside you feel nothing. And we're talking about what it means when it feels safer to be numb and how emotional disconnection, though it may feel confusing or shameful, is actually a sign of your body's brilliance and your nervous system's wisdom. Now, let's start by looking at how emotional disconnection isn't a weakness, but a protective response. And let's begin with something that's often misunderstood, even by survivors themselves. Emotional numbness is not a sign of brokenness. It's not a weakness. It's not something wrong with you. It's a wise and powerful adaptation to overwhelming emotional pain. And when you've lived through trauma, especially the kind that is repeated, ignored, or minimized, your nervous system learns that feeling can be dangerous, whether it was sadness that led to punishment and fear that was shamed, or joy that was crushed by chaos. Your system took this painful message. Feeling deeply isn't safe. And so your body did something incredible. It started to protect you, not just from external threats, but from your own emotions. Because to feel was to risk pain. To feel was to open a door that might overwhelm you. So your body brilliantly shut the door, not because it didn't care, but because it cared so much that it chose silence over suffering, disconnection over destruction. And that numbness, that blankness that you may feel now, it didn't come from nowhere. It's the result of your system stepping in to shield you, not once, but over and over again. See, some people learn to shut down in childhood when no one came to soothe them. Some learned it later in life, after betrayal, abuse, or loss. Others feel it suddenly, like a wall that went up one day and never came back down. But regardless of when or how it began, emotional disconnection is a trauma response rooted in wisdom, and it deserves to be met, not with shame, but with compassionate curiosity. So let's shift the language here. And instead of asking, why can't I feel anything? Try asking, what feelings once hurt so badly that I had to stop feeling to survive? And this shift isn't just about insight, it's about reclaiming your story and seeing your responses as evidence of survival, not failure. Because here's the truth. You learned to numb out because your body believed it was the safest thing to do. And in many ways, it was. And it helped you endure what was unbearable. But now, you may be realizing that the very thing that once protected you is now keeping you from living fully. It's holding you at a distance from your own life, your own heart, your own healing. And that realization can feel disorienting and even painful, but it's also the moment healing becomes possible. You're no longer numbing without knowing why. You're seeing the pattern, you're understanding the roots, and that awareness is the beginning of everything. So let's gently explore that awareness now with a reflection. Now, have you ever caught yourself going through the motions of life, handling responsibilities, showing up for others, maybe even achieving things, and yet inside, you felt emotionally blank, like you were there, but not really there. Or maybe you've had a moment where you realized, I should feel happy or sad or angry, but I just feel nothing. So take a breath. This is tender. And whatever your experience is, there's no right or wrong here. You can type a word or phrase in the comments that captures that experience, or simply place your hand over your heart and notice it quietly. You're not alone in this. And what you feel or don't feel doesn't define your worth. It simply tells the story of how you've had survived. Now that we've opened this understanding of why numbness develops, let's explore how it begins to show up in our everyday lives, often in ways we don't even recognize at first. Because awareness is the first step toward healing, and that's exactly where we're going next. Now that we've uncovered how numbness forms as a trauma response, let's talk about how it begins to live in your body, in your thoughts, and in your choices you make. Because emotional disconnection isn't always obvious. In fact, it often looks like being high functioning. It looks like managing everything, keeping it all together, and rarely asking for help. You might appear calm, capable, even cheerful on the outside, while feeling hollow, exhausted, or completely disconnected inside. That's the complexity of trauma. It teaches us to perform stability while hiding our pain. Many survivors become exceptionally good at showing up for others, managing crises, and pushing through. But what's happening underneath that surface is often a deep inner situation, a quiet detachment, not just from emotions, but from self. And you may notice you avoid certain conversations or environments because you're not sure how you'd feel, or if you'd feel anything at all. You might zone out during moments that should feel meaningful, even if joyful experiences like time with loved ones can feel muted. And this disconnection doesn't just affect you, it shapes your relationships too. When you've learned to shut down emotionally, it can be hard to let people all the way in. And you might struggle with intimacy, vulnerability, or even trust. Sometimes it's not that you don't want to connect, it's that you can't access the emotional capacity needed to do so. Your nervous system is still protecting you by keeping you at a safe distance. And yet this distance can be incredibly painful. And you may find yourself wondering, why can't I feel close to the people I love? Why do I feel so alone, even when I'm not physically alone? Why can't I cry, even when I'm hurting? The answer lies in your system's protective wiring. And here's what's important to remember. This is not a moral failing. This is not a lack of willpower. This is your nervous system saying, I'm not ready to feel that yet. So we meet this part of you with compassion, with understanding, not with pressure to fix it, but with space to gently reconnect. Because your emotions are still there, they haven't disappeared, they've just been buried, tucked safely away, waiting for the moment when it feels just safe enough to emerge. That moment may come slowly. It may begin with something as small as noticing when you go numb. And instead of criticizing yourself, you ask, what's underneath this? What would it feel like to just be here with this without needing to change? And especially needing to change it. That's the doorway back to feeling. That's the place where reconnection begins. And you don't have to walk through it alone. In the next section, I want to share a personal story about how emotional numbness had showed up in my own life and the small moment that helped me recognize for what it was, not weakness, but protection. And most importantly, something I could begin to gently shift. So for a long time, I didn't realize I was emotionally numb. I just thought I was strong. I could handle anything, push through anything, stay composed no matter what. I was praised for being calm under pressure, for staying positive, for being the one others leaned on. But deep inside, I was disconnected from myself, from joy, from pain, from everything. And there were times when people around me were grieving and I couldn't cry. Times when something wonderful happened and I couldn't feel happy. I wasn't fine. I was frozen. Looking back, I now know what that was, my nervous system protecting me. After experiencing trauma, it had learned that emotions were dangerous, overwhelming, and even unsafe. So it did the only thing it could to keep me functioning. It numbed me out. And here's the thing, no one tells you. Numbness doesn't always feel like sadness. Sometimes it feels like nothing at all, a dullness, a fog, a quiet emptiness. I remember one moment vividly, and a friend asked how I was doing. Not the polite, casual kind of asking, but the I really see you, that kind. And I didn't know how to answer. Not because I didn't want to share, but because I couldn't access anything inside to share. It was like trying to turn on a light in a room with no switch. That moment was a turning point, and it didn't lead to an immediate breakthrough, but it planted a seed, a quiet moment, a quiet awareness that something inside me wanted to feel again. And from there, I began the slow process of thawing out. I didn't rush it. There were days I still felt flat or distant, but I started to give myself permission to notice without judgment, to say, I feel numb right now, and that's okay. To meet that part of me with curiosity, not criticism. And over time, as safety grew, so did my capacity to feel, not all at once, but gently in layers. Tears came, laughter returned, connection deepened, and life, real life, started to feel possible again. I share this because if you've been feeling distant from your own emotions, if you've been carrying the pressure to keep it all together while feeling like something inside you is missing, you are not broken. Your body is wise. Your survival response is not your identity. And you can begin to reconnect slowly, gently, safely. Let me share a simple practice you can try, something I used to do in my own healing, to start bridging the gap between disconnection and feeling. One of the gentlest ways to begin reconnection with your emotions is by using what I call a temperature check. This is not about diving into deep emotional processing right away. It's about making contact with curiosity and compassion in small, manageable ways. Here's how it works. Once or twice a day, pause for a moment, maybe after brushing your teeth, before checking your phone, or while waiting for tea to steep. Place a hand over your heart or on your stomach, wherever you feel connection, and gently ask yourself, if I had to guess what I'm feeling right now, what might it be? You're not asking yourself to feel anything fully yet. You're just inviting awareness to the surface. Maybe the awareness is, I don't know. Maybe it's tired, anxious, numb, or peaceful. Whatever comes up, thank yourself for checking in. That alone is enough. And over time, these little check ins create a bridge between numbness and awareness. You begin to notice patterns when you feel more distant, when you feel more open, and you create a relationship with your inner world that says, I'm listening now. There is no right answer. There is only the practice of gentle noticing. And each moment you do this, you're creating a safer, more compassionate space within you. A space where your feelings, when they're ready, can come home again. So here's a journaling prompt you can use later today or this week. It's designed to help you deepen your reflection, even if you're not feeling much yet. What emotions have felt safest for me to show? And which ones have I learned to hide? I'm going to repeat that. What emotions have felt safest for me to show? And which emotions have I learned to hide? And as you journal, don't worry about getting it right. This is just for you. It's not about performance. It's about gently making space for the truth, whatever it looks like today. Even if the only word you write is no, that's a beginning. Awareness is the first doorway to healing. Thank you for being here with me today. And if this session spoke to something deep inside of you, and if you're ready to explore what it might look like to reconnect gently at your own pace, I want to personally invite you to schedule a healing connection, a no-fee clarity call. And this is a one-on-one space with me where we can talk through the one challenge you're facing together, no pressure, just a chance to be seen, heard, and supported in a way that honors where you are right now. Now you'll find a link to schedule that call in the comments below this video. I love to hold this space for you. Looking forward to seeing you in our next healing step session. Have a great day.